Us this evening. If you're just joining us, if you could please go ahead and mute your lines on your end and go with cameras off, as that gives us the most amount of bandwidth to be able to get the presentation to you. Today's call will be recorded and available for you at michiganfirst.com underneath mortgage for those that you'd like to review it and share it with those out there. And feel free to ask questions. This is an open forum that you can go ahead and do so. Please do it in the chat box, and we'll be happy to go ahead and get that information to you as we go forward. This evening, I'd like to start with a little bit of introductions for everybody. My name's Grant Spencer. I'm the mortgage branch manager here in Rochester Hills. Been with Michigan First going into my 7th year. And I'd like to take a second to go ahead and introduce two of our speakers this evening, Mr. Matt Corvo and Mr. Mark O'Donnell. Matt has been in the mortgage business for 21 years this year, celebrating that. And Mark has been in the real estate business for quite some time as well. We're going to be talking a little bit this evening about the mortgage process breakdown, what it really takes to be able to go ahead and get a mortgage to get into a home, as well as a little bit on how to go ahead and purchase real estate here with Mark. We'll follow up with some tips and tricks and things that you should have as takeaways from the conversation this evening to better apply them in your lives overall. We're going to finish up this evening with a little bit of closing remarks between our speakers this afternoon. And with that, I'll take it away with a little bit of introduction. I'd like to start first with Matt. If you'd like to go ahead and introduce yourself to the crowd.
Sure. Welcome, everybody. I appreciate you again coming in at 6 o'clock on a Thursday night. It shows that you're dedicated to hopefully learning some more about the loan and mortgage process. So again, my name is Matt Corvo. I've been in the business for over 20 years and helped thousands of homeowners, prospective homeowners, buy a home. It's really important, I believe, is one of my mission statements, that you have a lender that will work with you for your homeownership goals, while keeping your best interest as the main focus, as opposed to just possibly a paycheck. Really have someone in your corner that cares about you and wants to get you that home, whether it takes a year or 6 months or 2 weeks to find. So I appreciate you being here tonight.
Thanks for that, Matt. I really do appreciate it. And Matt's free time as well, when he's not going ahead and taking care of our members and closing mortgages, he also likes to go ahead and have fun with his children and do a lot of baseball coaching, and he spends time with his kids at the ice rink as well. So not only a leader here in mortgages, but a leader at home as well.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Grant.
Matt.
Thank you.
And Mark, if you'd like to take a couple moments to go ahead and introduce yourself to the crowd.
Yeah, thank you. And welcome, everybody. Appreciate you coming out. Like Matt said, I got in real estate about 8 years ago officially. Before that, I was buying and selling homes, foreclosures, fixing them up, renting them out, kind of as a side gig. I had a primary business at that point, but when I sold that business, I needed to transition to something, right? So I chose the real estate maker. Sorry, I got a dog here. Mess with me. I chose to get into the real estate market just because I had a lot of experience with it, right? So the thing that I think I enjoy about it, and Matt and I work together quite a bit, is we like working with first-time home buyers, because we both are first-time home buyers, and it's exciting, but it's also pretty stressful. Okay, go. That's a dog. Sorry. It's also pretty stressful. So it's important to have the right person on your side. And I did when I bought my first house. And I like to remember that, and how nervous and stressful it was. I like to provide that service for my first time home buyers. I know Matt does as well. So I think as a team, we work pretty well together in making the good match and finding the right place for people that makes financial sense for them. And that's kind of where we're at right now. So appreciate you guys coming out.
Thanks again, Mark. Well, let's kick it off with some questions here to kind of get the conversation going this evening, to talk about the mortgage process and how you can best go ahead and purchase a home. So, Matt, I'd like to start with you.
Sure.
How do you know what kind of purchase price someone would be able to qualify for?
Well, that's really going to be your main question. And when people call me, and I'm sure everybody these days watches the home buying shows, and people are buying $1 million homes on $10 budgets, but and you wonder how they're doing this. Number one thing is to get with a mortgage loan officer like myself. Start the interview, work through, really, I always start with how much you want your monthly mortgage payment to be, and I go backwards from there. So if someone tells me they want a $1,200 house payment monthly, but they're looking at $400,000 homes, that's not going to work. So that's where we start to really dial things in. Of course, it's based on income, your debts, but the process isn't just as cut and dry as how much do you make and what are your debts. There's many other things that go into it, but number one, hands down, most importantly, is get with the loan officer, start that discussion about, again, what you want your house payment to be, and kind of the houses you're looking at. Make sure those align, and then we can go from there.
I think you're absolutely right, Matt. When it comes down to it, it's an interview process with your loan officer to determine what's the best options for you. To Matt's point, when you go ahead and you do a loan, it's not simply what you make and what the debts are. With the amounts of guidelines and overlays that are out there within the industry, a seasoned, experienced loan officer is really someone that's going to help guide you through the process so that it's not going to be stressful. And in the end, we can go ahead and think about move-in day versus how are we going to go ahead and get this loan closed. So great points. Mark, I'm going to turn it over to you and ask, why should someone partner with a realtor when they buy a home?
I mean, it's a pretty good question. And, buying a home, I mean, most likely it's going to be the largest investment of your life. And especially if it's a first-time home, you don't have any experience doing that. And I guess it could be a pretty drastic mistake if you made it, right? So these partnering up with the right realtor that has the right motivations, I think is huge, because it's like you have your ace in the hole. You have somebody that's protecting you and following you through everything and helping educate you in the market. Because I don't know what's best for a buyer, because only they know that. So what I do is I educate them on the current market, which is changing quite a bit, but I educate them on the current market. So when it comes time to make a decision, they're confident. Like, I've taken buyers through 30, 40, 50 homes before they've made a purchase, and I'm fine doing that. I'm very patient because it's a huge, huge investment. You have to be confident with you're always going to be nervous. It's going to be a little stressful and excited and all that, all boiled into one. But if you're not confident with your decision, then I don't know what's worse than buyer remorse. And if you're not prepared and you don't know everything going into it, and that type of decision could be pretty, I think pretty tragic for a family, especially starting off. So it's like you got somebody on your side walking you through everything, as long as their motivation is to find the best fit for you and help educate you to almost, you need to realize what your best fit is. I think I think it's a must, to be honest with you.
I agree with you. I think that's a great point. The motivation of the agent that you're working with. And I think back to when I went ahead and purchased my first home. You'll want to find an agent that has the heart of a teacher, that wants to go ahead and educate their clients to find the best possible solution for them. And so I agree with you 100% on that. Matt, let me flip it back over and ask you some of the more detailed questions here about getting a mortgage loan. Does someone have to have a job for 2 years in order to be able to qualify for a loan?
No, and I'll get that. I'll have people call me, or I'll be talking with people who are maybe even doing the right thing. I always tell people, one of my favorite lines is, buying a home or preparing to buy a home is like painting a room. If you just pull out the paint and start painting, you're gonna have a bad experience. But if you sand, you fill all the holes, it's going to turn out nice. So it's when I get people call me who say, are doing the right way. Oh, I've had my job for a year. Before that, I had another job for a year. I got to wait one more year. It's a misconception. As long as you have that employment for 2 years, or for that matter, graduated college and you have a degree, or graduated from a trade school and you have the history, you do not have to have the same job for 2 years. Absolutely not. So again, even the people that call me who I think they're, again, propping the room the right way, I've said you can buy now and they're thrilled. And we've got people into, again, every situation is different, but absolutely not do you have to have the same job for 2 straight years.
I think that's a really great metaphor with painting, and having just finished a painting job myself, it really comes down to half the paint job is preparation and making sure that you move into the project the right way, and doing a loan falls right into that same category. So
Absolutely.
really good point. Really good point. Mark, I'm going to kick it back to you. What should somebody expect when they start working with a realtor?
I can tell you what you can expect from me. And I think for everybody, every realtor, really, you need to be educated. The market has changed so much, and if you know what to kind of expect, and I have buyers that are walking through houses with me, and they're pointing things out to me at that point, and that's a huge part. But your agent should have your best interest in mind, without a doubt. That's what you should expect. And if your initial, maybe you meet somebody at a house agent for the first time to show you the house, if you get any weird vibes from them, if they're pushy at all, those are all red flags. Like they should be on your side. They shouldn't be making you feel uncomfortable with pushing you into a decision whether to make it or not. Go back to motivation, like I talked about before. Like, my motivation is to find the right house for that particular buyer's situation. Everybody's different, and they're never going to get pressure from me. And if you're feeling that, then I don't think that's a good thing. Your expectation for your agent is like, this guy is on my side. He's going to educate me so I can make a good decision. He's going to, work with a lender and make sure that, I'm qualified enough. The pre-qualification, Matt, I'm sure we'll get into this in a minute. That's huge as well. So the expectation should be, this guy's on my side. His primary responsibility and motivation is to find the best fit for me. And everything else is kind of, secondary.
I think you really have it on the nose there. We go back to your gut feeling, and it comes down to, how do you feel when working with somebody? And if you have some bad feelings in your gut, those ring true a lot of times.
Well, it's
So
that car
having worked
salesman
with
vibe,
them,
right? Like the cars, the sleazy car salesman. I mean, but like the fast talking, like, no, take your time. Like, this is my first time. I need to, like, don't be afraid to ask questions. And if they're short with their answers and they're not giving you the proper time, that's the wrong thing. Your expectation is you're their primary concern. You're their primary focus, and there's no dumb question. So if you're getting that vibe at all, then that is not there's great agents out there. Find one of them.
I think that's a great takeaway. There's no such thing as a dumb question. Well, Matt, I'm going to go ahead and give it back to you here on this one. Do you have to have a 20% down payment in order to qualify for a loan?
Great question. It's probably, if this was The Price is Right, that would be at the top of the list there, along with, and I'm gonna pair this with another one. So if I get a call daily, the prospective home buyers, again, we're starting to prep the room, right? What can I qualify for? Talk about credit, down payments. There's truly programs from 0% down. Now, not everybody qualifies, right? That's part of the interview process. Veteran loans are 0% down, but really traditional type loans, conventional and FHA, are 3.5% down. So ease of math, $100,000, 3,000. However, with that said, and this is again the gold star, is there's so many grant programs out there. Most people will know of Mishta. That's the one that, if you're on this call and you're in the state of Michigan, there's the $10,000 grant that's available. That can be used for that down payment. There are some other grants and down payment assistance options available. So it's a really complex question. I shouldn't say complex. It's a multifaceted question where it is from 0% to, you can do, I always say it's your mom and pop, 20% down. You can do that. But there's so many options out there from 0% to 20% but also you can put the grant and down payment assistance programs for those to use for those percentages. There's also gifts. So again, it's really important you get with your loan officer to start discuss your options. What can I use? What options are out there? What certain cities have gifts? Grants pop up and down. There was a $25,000 one that just expired today. I'm sorry to tell everybody that, but those do pop up periodically. And right now, there's great down payment assistance. Probably Miss should be number one at $10,000.
Those are all excellent points, Matt, across the board. And we here at Michigan First, as you know, are one of the largest down payment assistance lenders throughout the state of Michigan and a primary Michigan lender. So if you have any questions in regards to those, certainly give Matt a call in regards to it. Mark, back to you on this one. Does a buyer need to sign any documents with you in order to be able to go out and start shopping for a house?
Yeah, so I would say for sure you should sign the agency disclosure document, which in a roundabout way, it's kind of like we've all heard the confidentiality with the attorney-client privileges, similar to that, right? So basically that agency disclosure lays out what you asked before, what you should expect from your agent. This kind of lays it out, and so you have the correct idea going into it. That would probably be the first thing. And also signing that, it confirms and solidifies that fiduciary responsibility that I have to that buyer, where their information that they're giving me it's locked in a vault. It stays there. And in that situation, that I'm working for you. There's no sharing of information because there's a lot of agents out there. I know a lot of agents out there. I'll come across an agent on a sale that's listing the home and I'm representing my buyer. That doesn't mean that I can share any information with them. So like that agency disclosure is a pretty good document to have signed ahead of time. It's a disclosure. It's not a contract. It's basically just saying, hey, this is what you should expect. This is what I expect. Let's move forward and start looking at some houses and feel comfortable with each other. We have our board is deciding on some different things, and there's going to be some decisions going on where they might put a rule in place where we actually have to have a buyer's agency contract signed, which says, Mr. Buyer, Mrs. Buyer, you're working with me. I'm working with you. Here's our time frame. It's, the nuts and bolts of a contract, basically. That I don't necessarily have signed when I meet with somebody before to show houses for, because frankly, I want to make sure they're comfortable working with me. And I kind of want to make sure I'm comfortable working with them as well, so we probably don't get the contract signed the first time. I personally like a lot of my business is through referrals, where somebody says, hey, you helped my buddy find a house. Can you show me this house? Oh, or can you help me? Sure. Okay, well, I have a house. Let's go. They're ready to go right at that point. So I'm not going to tie things down. I'm going to go meet them because I work well with people in person. I want to meet them in person. They want to meet me in person, hopefully. And you get better, judge a character that way. So, long answer to your question. Yes, let's sign an agency disclosure so we know kind of the expectations are there. Contract, we don't need to worry about at this point. But in the future, I think that's kind of where this industry is leading, where you will actually have to sign a contract, but no decision's been made on that part yet.
More to follow, as they say, right?
Yeah, right. I mean, it seems like there's always more to follow.
Mm-hmm. Well, with that, we'll flip back over and talk to Matt. You know, Matt, a lot of times when someone wants to go purchase a home, they might not have the income to be able to go ahead and purchase the home that they want. Is it possible for somebody to be a co-borrower on a loan if they're not going to live in that home?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a great question. So people will come to me all day, every day. Hey, I'm looking to buy, all this stuff. But my mom, is willing to help, but she has her own home. That's fine. So I always tell people the ideal non-occupying co-borrower. So that's someone that is on the loan, they're equal responsible for the loan, right? So it's like a co-signer on a vehicle. So to make things easy, but a non-occupying co-borrower, the ideal qualifications for them are low debt, good credit, right? That's or I shouldn't say good credit, or satisfactory credit for the loan. You don't want to bring in a non-occupying co-borrower who, it was in bankruptcy last week and is their debt ratios are through the roof. That's not an ideal, not an ideal, not it's 100% doable, but an ideal non-occupying co-borrower has sufficient credit profile with the income to help you with your purchase. So you put it's a boost to the buyer, but they do not have to live there.
And thank you for that. So when we're looking for a non-occupying co-borrower to perhaps add to your application, we're looking for somebody who is responsible, that pays their bills, has good income and good credit to be able to bolster that application so that you could go ahead and purchase that home.
Absolutely. It's to prop the buyer up. Absolutely.
Great point. Mark, I'm going to ask you on this one. Let's talk about the relationship between the lender and the realtor. How does the lender and the realtor work together to best satisfy the client?
Communication, right? I mean, I think that's key throughout the entire transaction. But when it comes to the lender, the real estate agent really needs to be confident in their lender. The lender, the buyer will come to you two different ways. Either, let's take Matt and I, for example. If I have a buyer that wants to start looking at houses, my first question, hey, have you been pre-approved yet? You got to know what you can afford. And you can do on these online sites, you can say, okay, well, the payment's only going to be this and the down payment's only going to be that. Well, that's not the whole story. So you talk to a professional, find out exactly what is your money to close, what's the payment going to be, all that type of stuff. So they'll come to me. Did you get pre-approved? Okay, then I always refer Matt because he and I have worked together and we've had great success together. And I know that he's a solid lender. He's not going to, he tells everybody what they need to hear, not necessarily what they want to hear, what you really need to hear. And that's important. So the relationship for me to have a lender that I know is being truthful for people, not just telling them what they want to hear to perhaps maybe get a loan. Truthfulness is big on that side. So when we work together and we know that we can trust each other, I think that's probably the most important part. Communication between the two throughout is very big too. So the process when you get your house or when you finally get in the house, an offer accepted, that's when the timeline starts. You start following the purchase agreement and okay, well now the lender needs to order the appraisal. So there's a lot of working together. And I think the important part is to make sure that you have somebody on both ends that you can trust and know that they're doing the right thing.
A great point. Telling people what they need to know, not what they want to hear, is a good trait in a lender.
Yeah, it's not a popular statement sometimes, but it makes sense, right?
Trust and honesty have to go first for sure.
Yep.
Well, with that, we're going to start wrapping up here. I'd like to give you both gentlemen an opportunity to go ahead and give our crowd some 3 takeaways from the conversation today that they could best use to go ahead and in their new home purchase transactions that they're going ahead to look to do. We could have the slide just before that. All right. Perfect. All right. I'm going to start with Matt. Take it away.
Okay, so all three, right down the line.
Go ahead.
So beautiful. So again, it's just that the pre-approval letter is the end of our interview process. You know, that's a question, right? The question there is, why is it important? Because that's the end of our interview. Getting you into the spot where you need to be, whether again that pre-approval takes 3 weeks, 6 months, or 2 years. It's not, I always tell, again, with the painting the room analogy, I always tell people it's not if, it's when. So that pre-approval again I can deliver it on the first call, or maybe not for 6 months. And again, it's just calling, getting with your lender, talking about what you can afford, down payment programs, looking at credit, if in fact you need to work on credit, fixing those issues. So the pre-approval letter is so important, because when that's your golden ticket when you walk to purchase. You know, if you don't have one of those, no lender in the land is going to listen to you or really put an offer in for you. So the nice thing about mortgages these days is I could work with my neighbor or someone across the country, and everything can be done online. I always offer in-person meetings and consultations, but if you want to apply, you can just apply online. If people want to apply to see where they're at, they know they're not in the right spot, but again, they can apply, and I work with people. Again, sometimes it's over a 2, 3, 4, 6 month period, 2-year period. So, but that can all be done online. Super easy, a 5-minute storybook app, and we're good to go there. And then again, we're just going to be talking about the types of loan programs, what's best for each person, what's best for their situation. Again, really digging into how do we get you into a home, setting a time frame, setting expectations, and just working through that, and just again, like Mark said, having a relationship, not just not a transaction.
Great points across the board. Mark, what are your takeaways?
So why is it important to have a realtor? We talked about that, but it's really for just so you have somebody to guide you through the process. It's going to be your biggest investment ever. Have a pro that can give you the correct expectations and educate you to make a good purchase. What happens before and at closing? Well, I mean, I guess that question is, so once we have an offer accepted, so the home buying process, it can be long. You got to be patient. So make sure your realtor's patient, but the process, you have to be patient to find the right thing. In this market, it's kind of hard to take 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 offers before you get one accepted. Keep at it. You know, like I said, stay patient. But so once your offer accepted, that's when the due diligence process starts. So that's when you're doing your inspections, and inspections are important. That's when your lender is going to order the appraisal. That's important. Make sure that the valuation from the lender is accurate, is close to what your list price is. And then at closings, you bring an ice pack for your hand because you sit at the closing table and you kind of sign your life away. Don't want to say it that way, but that's when you're signing all your mortgage documents and all your real estate documents. And that's when you get your keys. Usually you get your keys and you move in that, you take possession that day. The realtor and lender relationship, it really is important. I'm not going to say every purchase I have is with Matt, but a lot of buyers come to me where they already have their pre-approval. I didn't mention that last time, but then I will reach out at that point, introduce myself to that lender. And if I don't know the company, then I ask around. I try to make sure that, he's going to work well with me and his buyers, and he's got his buyer's best interest in mind. So the realtor and the lender relationship is important. They don't have to know each other, be best friends. They both have to be professional, and they both have to have good communication, and they both have to have your best interest in mind, and be patient and willing to educate you. I think that's probably the most important. That would be the takeaway I'd give to every buyer right here. Be patient, educate yourself. And if you got any weird vibes from your lender or your realtor, there's plenty of them out there. Go find somebody that you feel good about.
I think that's the most valid point of the whole thing is communication is key to any relationship. And the relationship between the realtor and lender is critical in order to be able to deliver for that borrower who's looking to go ahead and purchase that home. Thank you,
Right.
gentlemen.
Yeah.
I
and
appreciate both of you.
communication to the other side as well, because you know, there's another side of the transaction. There's a listing agent that's working for that seller. You have to be able to communicate with them as well.
Great point. Great
Yep.
point. Well, with that, we'll wrap up. And I'd like to go ahead and encourage anybody who has any questions in regards to mortgages or real estate to reach out to both Matt and Mark. Their contact information is on the screen right now. And if you'd like more information about Michigan First, feel free to go ahead and email us at info@michiganfirstmortgage.com or give us a call. We'd love to talk to you. Our telephone number is on the screen. Any one of our licensed loan officers will be happy to go ahead and help you purchase your new home. And with that, I'll say thank you for joining us this evening. Thank you both to Matt and Mark, and we look forward to seeing you at the closing table soon.
Yep. Happy house hunting.
Thanks, guys. Good luck.
Thanks. Bye-bye.